You know, the DC Lesnar drama or saga, it's just not that straightforward. I'd love to tell you guys that DC's going to fight Brock Lesnar. But much like you, I'm only as good as the information that I'm given. And a lot of it you have to read between the lines. So here's where we're at. Let's back up. Brock Lesnar is going to come to DC versus Stipe. He's going to sit in the front row and he's going to take on the winner. At that time, even if you go look at the odds, that was supposed to be Stipe. So at any rate, Brock's there. Fight ends. Daniel wins. Brock goes from the front row to the octagon. Next thing you know, he's shoving DC halfway across the ring and cutting a promo, burning down the entire house of the heavyweight division. It was great. It was great theater. It was a great piece of entertainment. Everybody wanted to see the fight. We had a whole bunch of questions surrounding Brock Lesnar. He was out on a suspension. He did not complete that suspension. He retired and stepped outside of the USADA testing pool, which is all well and good as long as he doesn't come back. Well, now he's back. So how are we going to deal with that? He's got to re-enter the pool, but he also has to serve a suspension. Can he do those two things concurrently? So all of these answers start to come about. We get a final resolution that Brock Lesnar will be eligible to compete in January of 2019, which at that time was a long time away. That was a pretty significant break. But okay, great. The rules are the rules, and at least now we have the answers and we can move forward with it. It then looked as though Brock Lesnar was taking a lighter schedule within the WWE. That was quite easily explained because he was now training and focusing on mixed martial arts and his return. And frankly, a world championship fight for nothing else. So all of these things were believed because they all happen to make sense. Now we have been thrown an interesting piece of information, which is in the WWE, because Roman Reigns has stepped aside for a very real-life battle with leukemia. Brock Lesnar has stepped in and signed a new contract to help do a little bit more of the heavy lifting to make up for Roman. This is the report from a publicly traded company. So this is accurate information. However, does one do away with the other? Does the fact that Brock is going to have to do more WWE and more traveling and have a new contract mean that he cannot compete in the UFC? I don't think so. I don't really give a damn how much traveling and on-TV appearances Brock Lesnar is going to do between now and his world title fight with Daniel Cormier. However much that is, and that is a tough life of the road, a lot of traveling for sure, but however much that is, however many airplanes he has to get on and times in front of camera he has to do and hotels he has to check into, it will not be as many times as Daniel Cormier does. Daniel Cormier has a weekly television show. Daniel Cormier is a ringside announcer. Daniel Cormier has a very heavy media schedule of which he is willing to meet those obligations. I'm just saying, if you want to look at that and say, okay, Brock is now going to be on Monday Night Raw more than he was supposed to be, I guess the fight with DC is off. One does not equal the other in my estimation. On the other side of this speculative coin, and that's all we're doing is speculating, but I have not seen the fire burning brighter for Lesnar versus DC. Anytime in this sport there's smoke, there's fire. Nobody can keep a secret. Absolutely nobody in this business can keep their mouth shut. You could telephone, telegraph, or tell a fighter. Either way, the word's going to get out. But the other side of that coin is also true. Whenever something appears to be cooling off, appears to be smoldering a little bit, that's also accurate. So I don't really know how to read this particular one. If DC was supposed to fight Brock Lesnar, and if they had that information ahead of time, as was reported to us, and Brock was going to be through the USADA pool and everything was cool and gang by January, it seems to me as though by now an official fight date would have been set, and it hasn't been. The other side of that is Daniel Cormier making it very clear that he would like to fight Brock Lesnar, but Daniel also making it very clear, I don't know if I'm fighting Brock Lesnar next. There has been a piece of that. Now, at one point, you could accept that answer because January of 2019 was just so incredibly far away. Hey, guys, next year is here next month. I mean, it's just not that far away. 2019, it's just not that far away. We're already seeing matches deeper into the year being announced. Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum comes to mind. Do they want to do this fight in April? Do they want to do it in May? I don't know about that. It would seem as though you'd want to do it as soon as you could. And I think that you guys might lose sight. Well, Chael, why do you say that? April's not all that far away. Yeah, I understand that. But when this deal was made 7 and 8 months ago, in the aftermath of Stipe versus Cormier, it did seem like a very long time. And if you're a guy like Brock Lesnar who's going, look, it's a one-off. I want the highest possible prize. I want to take the biggest possible risk. In exchange, have the biggest paycheck. All of those things, very above board, very in your face. Here's what it is. That isn't the kind of thing that you want to just keep putting off. If he's got to change his life and change his schedule and bring in his team and bring in his partners and stay put out there in Minnesota or North Dakota or whatever awful part of the country he lives in, it's not the kind of thing that you want to just keep putting off, that you want to keep on punting, keep on kicking down the road. So I don't have an answer on it, but neither do you guys and neither does anybody else, including Daniel Cormier. It has been a bit speculative and it has been a bit up in the air. And I just don't know where that's all going to go, but I would expect that if it's going to go, if all roads are leading to Daniel Cormier versus Brock Lesnar, then getting an answer on that sooner rather than later would make some sense. I also think that it would be very interesting, if we were to just think for just a second, and it's been terribly unfair the way that Stipe Miocic has been treated. It's a very rough business, and it's very cutthroat, and it's very to the point, and that's just the way that it is. But if we can say all of those things, then we also need to tell the reality that it's been very unfair the way Stipe Miocic has been treated. It's very hard to imagine a road back to the championship for Stipe that goes through Daniel Cormier. And the reason I say that is because of the timing issue and because I do believe, while things can change, I do believe the sincerity when Daniel Cormier says, I'm only going to do one more. So, if in fact he has Brock Lesnar, that just simply leaves Stipe out. That doesn't leave Stipe out of championship opportunities and even the championship. It just leaves him out of a championship through a road that goes through Daniel Cormier. I'm okay with that part of it. The reason I bring that up and offer you guys that piece of the backstory, let's just have some fun here and let's just say that Brock is out. Let's just say, okay, Jones is not in. So before anybody, we just go to John Jones. John Jones already has a fight, and it's actually a very big fight. It's actually a very anticipated fight. It's actually a very meaningful fight because it happens to be for a world championship. It's just down at 205 pounds. So what do you do with Daniel Cormier? Who's next for Daniel? And I'm sure there's a fun and wonderful answer there. But in the absence of Brock, and if Daniel does want to fight somewhat promptly, and it isn't going to be at 205 pounds, then all of a sudden you do start to have a little bit more of a dialogue for doing the rematch between Stipe and Cormier. And I know there isn't a fire lit under that yet. And I don't know that that's the direction that it's going to go. But I do think that that is a resolution that needs to come full circle in a timely manner. Daniel Cormier has said not only does he have one fight left, that isn't the only side of it. He also said he wants to have that done by his 40th birthday, which I cannot recall when it is. I have it in my phone, Daniel. If you're listening, I have your birthday written, but I believe it's in March. And that was the other piece of this, is he said, I want to get these done, and I want to get them done by my birthday, which I think is in March. Even if I'm wrong on that, you guys still understand my point that there is an actual expiration date, which I don't know that that would give us enough time to have Jones versus Gustafsson, free Jones up and bump him up to heavyweight and do the fight. I would be very short on the idea that Daniel Cormier would drop back down to 205 pounds. I realize he said that he would. I would be very short on that, and I would encourage him not to. There was simply no need. Daniel Cormier does not need John Jones, and Daniel Cormier does not need the John Jones trilogy. He absolutely does not. And people that try to tell him he does is out of selfishness because they would like to see it. So I don't know what's going to happen with Brock Lesnar. I will not concede to you guys because he signed this new contract with the WWE that then means he also cannot follow through with his UFC obligation and plans. I would also share for you guys that if he used that as an excuse, I will quickly counter that right now and right here by telling you no matter how much Brock is going to travel, it is not going to be as much as Daniel Cormier. And no matter how many interviews or spots or time on television that he's going to do and how many different hotels he's going to have to check into and how much time he'll have to be away from his family between now and the potential World Championship fight, it will still be less than Daniel Cormier. So we're not going to use that excuse. And if there's one thing that we must say about Brock Lesnar, and you can put him down and insult him all that you want, and I'm sure there's a lot of compliments in there too, but one compliment that you must always give that man, he is not a coward. If Brock Lesnar says he's going to fight somebody, for better or worse, good decision, up, down, or sideways, that victory goes. If Brock Lesnar says he's going to fight a man, he fights the man. For some reason, there has been a delay on establishing the date. I do not offer to you guys an opinion as to why that is as much as just an observerance by me. Is that a word, Nick? Observerance? Observerance? It doesn't sound right. Observation? Observance. What did I do? I added a B. Observerance. Observance. It's an observance. I don't know. I don't actually know. Which one is it? Observation, guys, don't fumble my words when I'm talking. Here's the point. We got to get to the bottom of it. There has to be some type of finite date and resolution. There just does. Or we got to get on with it, which is okay for us as fans too. We're used to that. But if we're going to do that, let's show some level of sportsmanship and immediately bring back two words, Stipe Miocic.